So welcome back to another episode, and today I thought we'd take a look at some of our favorite PlayStation 1 openings, the opening cinematics. And these are just some of our picks. Obviously, you guys have probably played games that you love the openings in. Please let us know what they are down below. Tell us what your favorite PlayStation 1 opening is. And man, are we ever going to get nostalgic here and do the whole look back thing on some of these great games?
You know, I was always amazed by the PS1's ability to have these incredible animated, just massive openings that were so impactful, so powerful. The music and all the visuals that they could actually bring up, especially for the era, it was just so incredible. And these ones are definitely some of the ones that made the biggest impacts on us, because this was the era where we were in your basement drinking teas, smoking like a chimney, passing the controller back and forth, level grinding. And these are just so good. I can't wait to talk about them.
It's weird. This is a catch-22 because the first game that we're going to talk about came in a very weird time for me, a really bad time in my life. I hate to start a negative, but it is a long time ago now, so I can easily talk about it. But it was weird. My father had just passed away. Honestly, it was a really bummer fucking time in my life, the worst time in my life. And I was 23 years old. And the great thing is I was surrounding myself with my friends every day. And I really was thankful that my friends were around for me. It really meant a lot to me to keep me busy and to get my mind off what was going on in my life. And what was really crazy too is that Wild Arms had come out, and I kind of wanted a distraction away from all my crap that was going on. So the funny thing is, we were playing this game, and we had all my friends over. We had just my friend Ben from England, yourself. We had Aaron over, all the guys in the neighborhood. It was really, really cool, and it's so funny. This opening, I mean, it's so nostalgic and so sad for me that the main character, it starts, and he's climbing this mountain, and it's like him going through this great struggle. And that felt like me at the time. It was really weird how my life and this fucking game opening were parallel to each other. I felt like that character trying to climb this mountain to get, through this grief. And what happens in the opening is that when he finally gets to the top of the mountain and he gets there, you don't know what he's going to see. And it was so symbolic, and it sounds so cheesy, but all of his friends were there, all of his companions. And I was like, that's what it felt like for me. I was going through this terrible thing, climbing this mountain, and at the top of this, going through all this pain, were my friends there for me. And it really, isn't that crazy what video games can be? And that's what the opening of Wild Arms, that music, whenever I hear that fucking music, takes me back to that time where we're in that basement, and I was going through a tough time, but thank God for friends, thank God for people around you. It's one of the most important things that you have in your life, and it was strange that this opening paralleled that so much. It was wild.
Well, I remember because that was when you and I started hanging out pretty much every day. I would get up every morning. I would get up and come to your house, and you always had the door open for us to be able to come in, and I'd come in, make tea and breakfast, and then we'd just sit down and we'd play the game, we'd talk, and the opening to this, it does the same thing to me, because that was it was a rough time. Even I was really heartbroken.
Rob was very close with my family, and it was very, obviously, when something like that happens, it's so traumatic, and it still is. It doesn't get any easier, but you learn to deal with it over time, for sure.
The song is so melodic and beautiful, but that opening whistle, the second that opening whistle starts, boom! I'm just the feels and the nostalgia and the visuals, and I always liked the part where the girl opens her hands.
Oh yeah,
and all the glowing petals just fly away. Yeah, it just seemed like that, where you've released, and you feel the relief of you have your friends and the comfort and being able to accept and move on. But it's such an incredible opening, but it was definitely very.
It's funny. I don't even know I'm bringing this up, but I'm going to, because I'll probably never bring this up again. Is that as inspirational and wonderful as Wild Arms was for the opening back then, being inspirational, all that, there was one PS1 game that I got that had the most negative effect on that time period where I was going through. Fucking Persona.
Yep, I knew it was going to be
because I picked up Persona just before, and it was so dark, and so the music was so down that I was playing the game. It was fucking bumming. It was really bumming me out. I mean, it was really making me depressed. I was like, I can't play this game.
No, I remember that because we'd sit there in your basement. We were both just kind of like, I don't.
It was a weird time for that. It wasn't the time for that. So, I needed uplifting shit. You know.
So thank God that one came along, because that was so. It was just the right thing for the time.
Yeah,
it really was.
It really was. So yeah, wonderful. You take us into Chrono Cross. I have a funny feeling the way you're going to take us into this.
Chrono Cross has an opening song that, first of all, very heavy on the Celtic overtones.
Yeah.
Beautiful symphonic piece. And it's funny because there's the opening where the writing shows up on the screen, and it says about, running over the green hills, and never have we loved so much for so long.
Yeah.
The words of that opening always reminded me of us, because we were so innocent and carefree, and we just, every day we just got up, life was an adventure. We'd go to Richmond, we'd go, out for jobs, we'd walk through the watershed, we'd play the video games.
Go get fast food.
But every day was fun and exciting to us, because we'd read our video game magazines and talk about what was going to be coming out, and imagine what the game
there's a lot of
like.
Imagination stuff going on. Yeah, it was cool.
And the music for this just fit that so perfectly. It starts off very kind of soft and slow, and almost feels a little bit bittersweet, and then it builds into this just pounding crescendo and this energetic music that makes you. By the time this song is over, you are ready for an epic fucking adventure. Yeah, you are ready to just put a sword on your back and take off into the woods.
Yeah, or you're just absolutely exhausted because the opening was so goddamn good. You're like, okay, I'm done.
It was. The graphics at the time were just.
Let me. How I even got mine? I didn't. The game wasn't out. There was the Japanese version, and I had a modded PS1, and I got the Japanese version. But it was the weirdest thing, and I knew I'd buy the American version when it came out, but I wanted to see the fucking opening. Yeah. And I put it in. I'll never forget. I put it in, and I sat in my chair, and I watched the opening, and I was like, I had this like near tear. I'm like, oh my god. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, again, I reset the PlayStation, and I watched it again, and I did that. I must have done that, like, honestly, I've never done it since for an opening, but I must have done it, reset it about 15 times, 20 times. Like, I just kept, again. It was so, I got so much emotion. There's so much going on in that goddamn opening.
There is.
Stabbings and intensity, and I mean, it was like the imagination in that opening, like traveling through quantum realities. It was wild stuff.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And just so well put together.
Yeah.
It gave away nothing. It raised so many questions, but it let you know absolutely what you were dealing with, which that's the sign of a really good opening.
Yeah.
But it's just so embedded in my mind as one of the greatest openings for this era and for this system.
And the music is so good that even when I first started going out with Kim, she wasn't into video games very much at the time. Yeah. And I had this song playing. She's like, "Oh my god, what is this song? It sounds amazing." I'm like, "Oh, it's just a little something."
Yeah, sit down.
Oh man, yeah. Here's another great one. Grandia. This came out on the Saturday. It was supposed to be the Final Fantasy VII killer. That's what they worked on it as. And is it a great game? Yes. Is it a Final Fantasy VII killer? Not particularly, but it doesn't need to be. It's its own fantastic game. But the opening of this was, it was fucking game arts in its best. The fucking amazing opening.
This was, to me, everything that RPGs made me feel.
Yeah.
It was the kid in the small town dreaming of big adventure, and it shows, without giving anything away, which is amazing, but it shows the flow of going from that little kid who wants to travel the world into becoming this grand hero, being completely unprepared for it, and how amazingly huge it really is once that happens.
Yeah, once he steps into the world, how big it really is. Yeah. And that's one thing that's so great and we've always loved about Grandia, is that it's a story of innocence. And it's a story of, it's lightheartedness.
Yes.
It's not like death, destruction, brooding hero. No, it's just about a bunch of kids that are going on this adventure, and they get taken into this bigger adventure, that's way bigger than them. And the opening captures that so well with the music. Wow.
This game has a very, very special place for me, because when I did finally fully play through it, it was when I was living in Quesnell.
Yeah.
Remember that time?
Yeah. And Robert moved away up into the middle of nowhere. Basically.
I moved into this little tiny town so that I could write commercials for the radio station, because I was working in radio. I have a degree in broadcasting. Weird tip. But So it was a very tiny town. There was no one else that was into video games, into the same stuff as me. They'd all moved to the big city. And there was no one for me to hang out with, no one to talk to. So after work every day and on weekends, I would come home and I'd just drink beer, smoke, and play this game all the time.
Lock the door, shut the blinds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, weekends were just, I'd get up, huge breakfast, and then I was on the couch and I was just playing. I was playing it all day.
Yeah.
And that was such an excellent opportunity. It's funny now, would I want to go back there? No. But for that time, that was one of the best gaming and movie watching times I ever had.
You mean for being up in the middle of nowhere?
With no one to distract me, nothing else going on. I could just completely absorb myself and be immersed in this world. Yeah. And so the opening to this always brings me back to that, and that sense of just of completely sinking into this entire world. And it is epic. So epic.
And I think the game, exactly, it's so epic that all of our friends finished this game.
Yes.
It was the one that, sometimes we're like, oh, I finished this game, oh, I didn't finish this one. But this is the one game that we all finished. We're all like,
I finished it and I mailed it back to Tamara.
Yeah.
And she finished it.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, Aaron I finished it. It was, and this game is very special for me when I was in my old house with my parents, with at that time my mom and sister. They had sold the house after my father passed away, and they were moving away halfway across Canada, and I had everything packed up in the house, and it was a really sad occasion. And I'm playing this game, and it was the last RPG I ever finished in that house where I experienced all my RPG beginnings. It was the one place that I got to see the ending. It was my final RPG ending in that house. And you know how classic. We won't tell you what it is, but it's such a nice ending. And for me, I'll be honest, there's a few times in video games that I've had tears, and this was one of them. I just oh wow! It kind of hit me. It wasn't just the ending of the game; it was the ending of an era. For me in my time, like leaving this house and all of that, all of our great times there. Wow, so Grandia, what a special moment. Jesus Christ, good times. And Rob has a little bit with this one, but Xenogears. Oh my God, this fucking opening.
Now, what's funny is the opening is about all I really have experience with this game. Yeah. Okay, fine.
It's what I wanted to talk about.
Get mad at me. I know you're going to yell at me in the comments. Go ahead, that's fine. I know.
I'll
you should have played it by now.
Yeah, you should have.
And I know I should have. Yeah. And I've tried to sit down and play it a few times, but these days my time, it doesn't exist. Yeah. But the opening to this, from the perspective of someone who has not played through the whole game,
yeah.
What the fuck was that?
It's crazy.
What the fuck was that? I can't even make heads or tails of it. There's all these spaceships and weird word stuff in German. There's anime, CG, rendered stuff just all over. It's awesome, but I was just sitting there going, there's a bunch of shit that happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then a naked lady on a beach.
Yeah. The game is very big in scope. It's huge in scope. I've always wanted to wrap my head around reviewing it, but I always think that I don't know if I could do it justice because it's a small part of a very big thing, and it's very religious overtones. It's there's a lot of shit going on in this. I'll talk about it. Maybe I will review it one time because it's so massive in scope. But let's just talk about the opening. Powerful music, powerful tones, taking place before the entire story takes place, and there's a lot going on in that opening, and I can't talk about a few of the things I'd love to because it would ruin my review of it and the actual story if you haven't played it. But it's big in scope. This game is bigger than all of us, I swear. That's a strange thing to say because it's a video game, but it's the one game that I've ever played that's bigger than most in its hugeness of story, hugeness of concept, hugeness of planning. This was going to be a big thing. This was going to be multiple games, and it's really sad we only got this section of it. But yeah, that's if you want to find out what really happens. Xenogears Perfect Works is a translated version online, and it's deep and it's complicated. It'd take you about a month to read. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's a big book.
I remember you trying to explain some of this to me because I will play through it, but I remember he was trying to explain some of this to me, and my eyes started to cross and glaze over, and I kind of what? Because there's so much.
Especially when you get to the second disc and it's all right. But anyways, I won't even get into that. So those are some of our favorites. Some of our favorites. We have a lot more, but we just thought we'd pick a few today.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite PlayStation 1 PlayStation 1 opening, something that you had a memory with, something that, you want to share down below in the comment section.
Something that takes you back to a really great time in your life, or maybe a really hard time in your life, but it was there to comfort you.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. We'd love to hear it, and we all want to share it.
Absolutely. So, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. Until next time.